Hey everyone, welcome back to another Faves and Fails. It's March already. Well, it might be April by the time this goes up. I still just cannot believe that March has flown by already. I have an assortment of products here for March Faves and Fails. I have some pretty big fails and some things that I really loved, and I'm mixing them all up this month because I'm just in the mood to do that. So that's what I'm gonna do. If you wanna see what I loved and what I did not love in March, just keep watching. I'm going to start out on a positive note with the Bare Minerals Bare Pro Concealer. This is their new stick concealer that, surprisingly enough, has been working really well for me. I am in the shade, let's see, Light Medium Neutral 05 is what it looks like. That writing is really tiny, so if it's different, I'll put it down below. I find most stick concealers and pot concealers to be less than hydrating for my under eye area, which does need coverage, and I do need hydration for my texture and my fine lines. This one actually performs really well. Sometimes I'll apply it straight from the stick, and other times I'll swipe it off with my finger and kind of warm it up on my finger first and then apply it. I kind of like it that way best, but it gives really nice natural coverage. It doesn't slip around. I always set my under eye concealer. This one has been working really nicely. So far, so good. I'm really enjoying this concealer. I'm surprised at how much I'm enjoying this concealer, and it's great for travel too because it's not a liquid. So this is a definite favorite for me in March. I guess I'm not really categorizing this video either. A lot of times I'll separate lifestyle and beauty and fashion and all that. I'm not doing that today. I put these earrings on for a reason because I've been wearing them in quite a few videos and some of you have asked me about them. I have been just loving these things so much, and I find that they go with everything. I can wear them casually, I can wear them dressy, and they really just sometimes dress up a casual outfit a little bit or give it a little bit of oomph. And they just work on a daily basis. I got them originally for Brooke to see if she wanted to wear them for an occasion, and they were a little bit too big for her tiny little ears, and I was gonna send them back to Nordstrom, and I put them on and it was instant love. I really enjoy these earrings. They're just a really great everyday earring. They kind of go with everything, and I absolutely love them. This might be the first bubble bath that I have ever finished in my entire life, or that I remember finishing in my entire life. I'm not a big bubble bath person just because I've never really found one that I was in love with. And I don't really take a ton of bubble baths when I take baths. I just take a bath, and sometimes I'll do bath soaks and bath salts or balms, but I don't do bubble baths. This Origins Gloom Away Grapefruit Body Wash, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Not only does it make incredible bubbles in the bath, it smells luxurious, energizing, and fruity, yet not too fruity. It's just such a great smell, and it's grapefruit body wash, and I don't usually like grapefruit, but there's something about the scent of this that's so refreshing and relaxing at the same time. So I really enjoyed this. They did send this to me. I loved this. It's completely gone. I can't tell you how sad I was when I finished this up this month because of how much I loved it. So if you are looking for a bubble bath and you want to treat yourself, I would highly recommend getting the Gloom Away Grapefruit Body Wash from Origins. I absolutely loved this bubble bath. Another bath body product that I loved this month, which is gonna lead into a fail, is the Josie Maran Whipped Argan Oil in Vanilla Apricot. Now, I love my Vanilla Apricot perfume from Comptoir Sud Pacifique. I know I butcher that every time I try to say it, but that's one of my favorite perfumes. And so I thought, okay, this is great. This is gonna be a great lotion. They sent this to me, and it's gonna smell like that. It does not smell like that at all. It's a subtle, creamy, fruity vanilla scent. The way it settles in on the body is really nice, and you can see I obviously liked it. It also moisturizes really well, probably from the argan oil that's in it. So I absolutely loved this ultra hydrating body butter with whipped argan oil. It was fantastic for me. I love it. I have a couple of other little smaller sizes in different scents that I am trying and using right now, and I just love the way they make my skin feel and the way they smell on my skin too. Now, the fail that I have from Josie Maran is the Vibrancy Foundation, which is a shame because they sent this to me too, and the color was really great in the shade Mystical RG30. I had heard great things about this for over 40 skin, However, I do have combination oily skin, even though it is over 40. And this just sat on my skin and never seemed to set. The oil in it just did not work for my oily combination skin. There are some foundations that I've used before with a satin finish and with oil as an ingredient that worked well. This, unfortunately, was not one of them. This just made me an oil slick. I couldn't wear it. It just made me so incredibly oily. So unfortunately, this was a fail for me and my combination oily skin. And I really wanted it to work because it seems like it's worked for so many people. It just didn't work for me. Let's just go ahead and go right into my other foundation fail of the month that I started to do a foundation road test on, and then I decided it's not even worth it. I can't continue. It's not even worth me spending the minutes of your time on the foundation review when I can just throw it in here as a fail because you'll probably see it anyway. And I almost feel stupid saying it because there's so many people out there that have said the same thing. But it's Marc Jacobs Shameless Foundation. I kept thinking I would be one of the people that could make this work because I tried things out so extensively in so many different ways with different primers and different powders. And I had heard to spray the face with Matte Fix Plus first, and I tried not setting it, I tried setting it, I tried everything under the sun to get this foundation to work on my skin. I've never had another foundation do to me what this foundation did. The color was great. I'm in the color Y270. I'm still just not sure why they even put this foundation on the market, if they tested it on people before they put it out, because there is a minuscule number of people that I have actually heard that this works for, and it seems like even with those, they had to really try to make it work. It sat on top of the skin in areas. It did not build. If I tried to build it, it would lift it off in those places and make it patchy looking. It never really seemed to stick around here, my pores, on my cheeks, on the sides of my nose, and on my chin. And it seemed to fade through the day. It just looked so cakey and emphasized my pores. It emphasized texture I didn't know I had, not in a way where other foundations have done. I've never had another foundation look as bad on me as this does. Enough said. I actually been waiting to do this video so that I could return this foundation. I cannot get this out of my hands fast enough. No, bad, no. A setting spray that I have been really enjoying is this Flower Beauty Seal the Deal Hydrating Setting Spray, which is kind of a surprise because it says hydrating and I have oily combination skin. I don't use setting sprays a ton because I do a lot of testing of foundations and primers and things like that. And so I kind of feel like using a setting spray is cheating and not giving things a fair shot. But on a daily basis, or if I'm having an extra long day and I'm not testing out something like that, I will throw a setting spray on just to help lock in my makeup and things like that. This spray has been really, really nice, and it's not hydrating the way you think of hydrating. It doesn't make you look dewy or wet, but it doesn't dry your skin out either. I don't really like a setting spray that makes me look overly matte either, because I feel like you can kind of look dry as the day goes on. I feel like this keeps the hydration there, but it also sets my makeup and it doesn't keep me overly matte or overly dewy. It's just a really nice setting spray. And the mist is really nice too. So it just kind of comes out pretty nice. Now I will get a couple of drops sometimes that I have to let settle in, but the mist is pretty good overall. I was kind of surprised that I would like this little product from Flower Beauty that said hydrating setting spray with a dewy finish. It doesn't really have a dewy finish. I got this one over the matte one because I heard that the matte one was a little too matte, and I had read that this one really wasn't dewy. So I was sold. I really enjoy this. In a few videos of mine in either January or February, I can't remember which one, I had in my description box the makeup I was wearing that day, and in that description box I had Au Naturel Mineral Powder Foundation and their Mineral Blush. I had a couple of other Au Naturel products, but these were the ones that really stood out to me the most. I bought the shade Lucerne for the powder foundation, and the blush I have shade Pink Champagne. The reason why I was intrigued by this is because this is the container for the mineral foundation. Usually when you think of mineral foundations, you think of just your typical loose powder looking container, like this type of thing for a mineral loose foundation. So this comes off and you have this little spray nozzle right here. Now you can spray it directly on your face, I think. I don't do that. I spray it either just poof onto the back of my hand and get it there and then dip my brush in, or I will spray it directly onto a brush, which I can't seem to find right now. So I'll show you with the blush. You can just take it and poof it onto the brush and get just a teeny tiny little bit on there and then swirl it onto your face. That is the blush that I have on today. I hope you can see it. It's not too washed out by the light in here. It's just a really pretty peachy pink blush. It's got kind of a golden sheen to it, but it never emphasizes texture. What I like about the mineral foundation is that it doesn't contain the bismuth oxychloride, which is what gives a lot of people problems with certain mineral foundations. This powder foundation looks really pretty on the skin. It gives nice coverage, but a skin-like finish, and looks really nice and natural on the skin. And I also didn't get overly shiny with it during the day. I'll have the links down to these below, but I was just really intrigued by these little containers because they're so travel friendly and so easy to use, especially if you're on the go and you just want to throw a little something on, but you don't want to lug around a loose powder container and have all of the mess. This video isn't getting too long. I think I got powder foundation all over it. When I first saw the pictures of Urban Decay's Backtalk released, I was so excited about it because it looked like this fabulous travel palette because of the eye colors on one side and the cheeks on the other, and then you had this mirror in the middle. And I thought, how perfect a compact travel palette. It's going to be versatile. It's going to be great. I can throw everything into my bag, and it has highlighters and blushes and eye colors and everything in one. Perfect. I was going to buy it, and then Urban Decay sent it to me along with a bunch of other stuff, and so I actually got to try it out. So big thank you to Urban Decay. I've tried it in many ways, and I'm actually going to show you a look to try and show you all the colors being used in some sort of way. I think I used all the colors in that demo. I started playing with it, and I started realizing some things that weren't quite apparent from the photo. So let's just get into the design of the palette. I do like the fact that it is made for travel. It's got this mirror in between the cheek and the eye shades, which is pretty cool. This mirror does come out. They're trying to get you to have a mirror to hold, and it's portable, it's great. But if you lose this mirror, you can no longer close your palette. So that's a problem. The other thing that I noticed that I haven't seen anybody else point out is that if you put this mirror in backwards, if the Backtalk hashtag is facing the cheek colors, it won't close. So it has to go in right, which is kind of a pain. I only realized that because I was wondering why my palette wasn't closing, and it was because I didn't have the mirror in right. A lot of times you want to just hold it and do your makeup. You can't do that with this palette because it's at this kind of almost 90-degree angle. So you would have to kind of hold the palette right here, which is really awkward if you're trying to actually do your makeup and use this mirror without separating the mirror. So there's just a few little quirky things with the palette design itself that I'm not as thrilled about as I thought I would be. I travel, and I thought this would be a great palette for work to travel with. I like the fact that there are some neutrals, and I forgot to note, I just almost dropped it, that the mirror falls out, as you just saw. What I liked is that I thought it was a more cool toned palette, and I don't really have one of those, but when I actually got it, it's actually pretty warm toned. I don't know if it's picking that up on camera, but it's actually a lot more warm toned than it seemed on the photos. I thought, okay, I can get a lot of looks out of this palette. I'll have a deep shade here to really deepen up the corners, and I can get like a really vibrant, fun look, or I can do a more neutral look for work. So that was my thought process with this palette, and I liked having the two cheek colors and the two highlighters. Once I started playing with this palette, I started realizing that there are some heavy flaws with it. It's actually very monochromatic once you start playing with it. Both the shades here, Curve and Bake, actually pick up a lot of pink on me when they show up at all. These were actually the first two shades that I swiped my fingers through, and the first thing that went through my mind was how dry they felt. I feel like the palette itself swatches really beautifully, and I feel like if you use it to get a more monochromatic, bright, vibrant, pinky reddish purple look, it works pretty well. It's going beyond that to get more versatility where it becomes an issue. When I tried to use these as a neutral and then go in with, say, WTF on a day, I just couldn't get anything from these shades. This doesn't show up on me at all. These shades here, WTF and Attitude, are the two most pigmented shades in the palette. Not this one, not this one. So it's just a little wonky. I don't think shimmers are that difficult to make vibrant, and Urban Decay as a history has some really great palettes and a lot of pigmentation. This formula is very dry, and there's some inconsistencies as far as the pigmentation and the formulation. What I did today, just to show you the inconsistencies in the formula of these shades, is I just created a look where I used a little bit of each shade. Now, this isn't a look that I tried to do every day. So what I did first was I set my primer with 3 sheets, which I can do with any shade out there. I really don't need this shade to do it, but I did notice that it did not show up at all. It really just kind of set it like a translucent powder. I then went in with Backtalk as my transition, which worked really, really well. This is a great shadow, actually. This shadow has a decent amount of pigmentation. It blends out really nicely. It looks pretty on the eye. This is actually what this palette is centered around, so I would hope that it would have a decent performance to it. However, it is the only shade that you can really use in this palette as a transition, and if you don't like a pink transition, that's going to be an issue for you. You could use your bronzer, or you could go in with WTF with a super, super light hand, but it's going to take a little bit of effort. I then went in with WTF in the outer third and into the crease just to give a little bit of depth, and this is another great shade in the palette. It's got a lot of pigmentation to it, and it blends out pretty nicely. Then I went in with a more dense brush into that outer third and used Attitude. This shadow is great. This is a more metallic shadow. It's got a lot of pigmentation, a lot of sheen. It looks really pretty on the eye. I've seen people use this shadow on their lids, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Another reason why I was excited to dig into the palette. Then I took a pencil brush and tried to use shade to deepen up that outer third in a more targeted way. And that's just when things started going south. This is a very vibrant shade. There is no reason why this should have not shown up. And that is the issue, not even when it's over Attitude. It's just anytime I've tried to use it, this is just a very lackluster shade. Unfortunately, I did bring it onto the lower lash line as well, so you could just see some kind of color. And then to try and deepen up that outer corner, again, in a more targeted way, I used 180, and you can see that's about as dark as 180 will get. You're not gonna get a lot of depth with this palette if that's what you're looking for, or have the ability to really smoke anything out with a deeper color. This is as dark of a brown. It does have a little bit of shimmer to it, as you're gonna get. The main issue with this palette for me are these 2 shades, which are what would make it wearable for, let's say, work or an everyday look. I love subtle shadow looks on a regular everyday basis. I mean, that's what I do and wear on a regular basis. I work every day and I need to have wearable looks. I can't be wearing red and purple all over my lids every day. I had thought if I could use these, you know, on the lid and incorporate, you know, one of these 2, even the purple somehow, it would work really well. These 2 shades, it doesn't matter which one I use, they just don't show up. They're very dry, they fall all over the place, and they do not show up with a brush, with a finger. When I wet them, they kind of ball up when I go to apply them on the lid. So the neutral-ish shadows in this palette are basically useless. I actually ended up finishing up that inner 2/3 of my lid with a shade from the palette by Pixie just to get some kind of pigment on my lid. It's like they're almost invisible with a tiny bit of sheen. There's just nothing there. I'm used to shades like Urban Decay Sin or MAC Jest or Naked Lunch or something like that. That's what I thought, you know, I was gonna get here. Can't get it. And then to highlight the inner corner and the brow bone with 3 sheets, it just doesn't show up as a highlight. It doesn't show up on the lid. It doesn't show up, period. There's just no pigmentation. On the contrary, the 2 cheek colors have a ton of pigmentation. I've actually heard of people having a little bit of a problem blending them out. I used Party Foul as my highlighter on that day. I don't find it to be the best highlighter I've ever used. I don't find it to be the worst highlighter I've ever used. Cheap Shot is a cooler tone, and then you've got Double Take, which is the warmer, more neutral tone. That's the shade that I used on the look to show you guys. I love the shade. It's really pretty. I really did enjoy using this. I can't get low-key this highlighter to show up. I can kind of see it as a blush topper, but it just doesn't have a lot of pigmentation. If this was an unlabeled palette, I would not think that this was Urban Decay. It just doesn't have that same quality to it. So I find overall the eye shades to be very disappointing. I feel like they definitely could have done a better job and made it more consistent. I am a big fan of most of Urban Decay's eyeshadow palettes, and I don't feel like this is the quality that I know and love from Urban Decay. If you go on Sephora and you look at eyeshadow palettes, this is the 3rd worst rated eyeshadow palette. As of today when I'm filming, it's the 2nd worst rated cheek palette. The reasons why this would not be a good travel palette for me are because as far as getting a more neutral, wearable look, I'm not gonna wear a hot pink eye to work, you know? I would need to pull in these colors up here, and they are very lackluster. I'm not going to always take the time to wet my brush if I'm traveling or something like that. You can get some pretty looks out of this for sure, but they're gonna be more monochromatic looks, or they're gonna take a little bit of effort. Unless the majority of us got duds from this palette, and there's only a few people that really got some great palettes. I have worked with this, and I just cannot get some of these shadows to show up at all. And you'll see that in a lot of reviews, and sometimes I find myself nodding along with them like, yes, that's me too. It's just not what I had hoped that it would be from Urban Decay, sadly, and I really did want to travel with this palette. Let's talk about good from Urban Decay, because that was such a negative note with the Backtalk palette, but the Hi-Fi Shine lip glosses are fantastic. They are so good. They have a decent amount of pigment to them that actually does last somehow without being overly sticky, which I really like. And they taste like candy. They taste so good. They wear well. They're not all created the same though. I feel like some of them look a little bit scary in the tube. Like this one looks like it's gonna be purple, and it actually swatches purple. It's called Snapped, but on the lips, it comes out to be this really, really pretty shade. I'm not doing a full out swatch video. I really just wanted you to see some of the shades and how they were different than what they look like in the tube. So here we have Naked, here we have Dirty Talk, we have Midnight Cowgirl here, Fuel, and Beso. And on top we have Rapture, Snitch, and Snapped. And just to give you an example, here is what the Rapture and Snitch and Snap look like. They look so much more vibrant in the tube, but on the swatch, they just look a lot more subtle and a lot more wearable. And they are. I have Backtalk somewhere. I think it's in a purse, but it's a really great color too. I find that I've been wearing Dirty Talk and Fuel the most. This is Dirty Talk and this is Fuel. And that's these two swatches right here. You have Dirty Talk right here, and then you have this middle one right here, which is Fuel. Two really great neutrals. Neither one are too deep, neither one are too light. They're just really great to wear every day. On that same note, I'm going to tell you the lip color that I'm so excited about. I mean, I love a lot of the new lip colors that they came out with this relaunch of some of the ones from the Naked Heat collection, and then they came out with 7 new colors. I've been wearing Fuel, I've been wearing Fuel 2.0 and Backtalk, which is a really nice cool toned pink that somehow works really well for me, even though I don't usually wear cool toned pinks that much. The color that I have on my lips though is called FAVE, and it is one of the metallized lipsticks. I have talked on my channel before about my love for MAC Plastique. I still have some left in a bullet and I still wear it. Yes, it's a little old. It doesn't smell rancid, so I'm still wearing it. This is as close to that lipstick as I have found. If you liked Plastique, you may want to pick this up. This has a little bit more peachy brown to it, but not that much. It's a great neutral peachy pink brownish nude that just wears really well, and it does have a little bit of shimmer to it, but it's not over the top, and I mean, I can wear this to work and it's just fine. So I've been really, really liking this lipstick. I have no idea what happened to the ending of my video, so I am refilming an ending segment to my video. I did not mean for that Backtalk palette little mini review to go on as long as it did. I hope that it was informative but not too lengthy for you guys, and I hope that you enjoyed this month's faves and fails. What did you like? What did you not like in March? I always like to hear what worked out and what didn't work out for you guys during a month. It gives me suggestions for things to try for myself too. So leave me your comments down below. I look forward to seeing them. Also, to let you know, my blind foundation testing is coming along quite nicely. I have finished the light coverage and medium coverage sections, and I'm moving on to the full coverage before I do anything at all in terms of recording anything, because I'm finding that there's some overlap in my categories and that I'm going to categorize things a little bit differently than I originally thought. So that's why I haven't put up any kind of a video yet. So I wanted to let you guys know that because I have been asked and I know you guys are wondering. Thank you so much for watching this month's Faves and Fails. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button, join the family. I would love to have you here on a regular basis. If you're not following me on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all those social media platforms, I do have that up on the screen and down below in the description box so that you can find me over there and join the family over there too. I will see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.